Hello, my name is John Altman and I'm one of the assistant coaches at Pavilion Vista South High School. As part of the 2023 Titan Baseball Camp, we recorded video of each pitcher so we could give them feedback on their mechanics heading into the 2023-2024 offseason. The goal of this video is to help provide potential areas of improvement with Caden's pitching mechanics to help him move more efficiently on the mound in the hope that he will stay healthy, increase his velocity, and improve overall command of his pitches. I really hope you find this information helpful. Let's begin by looking at Caden's pitching delivery at full speed. Okay, when I look at pitching mechanics, there's 5 phases of delivery that we look at. These phases, I'm going to use Stroman here on the left as an example. These phases are hip load, hip lead, hip separation, which is where we're at front foot strike, and then release and follow through. Each of these phases is sequential, and so the phases at the end, which release and follow through and hip separation, are all a result of how we load our hips and make our first move down the mound. If we can't get this first part right, typically it's difficult to get the rest of it right as well. And we'll see this here in Caden's own delivery. So when we look at how Caden starts, all right, he lifts, his front foot comes back down, and then from here he basically just steps forward down the mound. And what happens is when we do this, there's a couple things going on. First of all, we don't really get much coil from Caden. He kind of just lifts and then steps forward. Okay. What we want to see is as we lift, we want to see that front knee go towards our back ear and then create a little bit of coil in that hip. You'll notice that Stroman's let's see if I can draw here. Okay, Stroman's hip kind of curls around here, creates a coil on that back hip, and then he rides that position towards home. Okay, Caden kind of just lifts down, and then he just steps out. And what happens is when we step out, rather than drive with the lower half, okay, the other thing I want you to pay attention to is notice how Stroman's butt sits back behind his heel. Okay, we call this a hip hinge. Okay, and he rides that position towards home. And he's able to keep his trunk back and stacked over his hips as he goes into front foot strike. Caden, on the other hand, okay, when he lands, notice his trunk is kind of tilted forward. Okay, and what happens is he's not able to use that mass from the center of body and put it into the throw. Okay, and so what happens is essentially Caden really isn't getting anything out of his lower half, and then he gets to this position and he's basically throwing all arm to try and find his velocity. So the big thing would be with Caden is cleaning up his lower half, working on getting a little bit more hinge where he's sitting his butt back behind his heel. Okay, getting a little bit more coil in that front hip and loading his hips as he goes into leg lift, and then riding that position down towards home. Now, I'm not saying you got to look exactly like Stroman. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, but I just like to use him as kind of a mechanical example of what it's like to load your hips and then lead with those hips down the mound in order to get yourself in advantageous positions. Okay, so those are the big things that I see with Caden. If you have any questions, I always enjoy talking shop and discussing pitching mechanics and really anything related to pitching training. I do offer lessons in the off season as well if that's something that you're interested in. So you have my contact information. Don't hesitate to ask any questions if you have them, and go Titans.